We're tracking breaking news out of Indiana, where a murder suspect out of Bath County who's been on the run for more than a week is now behind bars. Find out how he was caught.
Scary moments for many here in Lexington after multiple robberies overnight. We'll tell you why. If you go into Waffle House right now, you can tell something happened.
Pattern is looking a whole lot better once we get past today. We'll see more sunshine and very calm conditions start easing back into the area. I'll break it all down for you.
WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
Good afternoon from WKYT News. Bill Bryant here with Barbara Bailey. We are tracking a breaking news alert out of Indiana at midday. A Bath County man accused of killing his wife has turned himself in.
Christopher White surrendered to police in Gibson County, Indiana around 7:30 this morning. Now, this is a first look at his new mugshot. White is facing murder charges in the shooting death of his wife, Judy, at their home in Owensville last week. WKYT's Victor Puente is live in Bath County now with the latest breaking details. Victor?
I spoke to Kentucky State Police just a few minutes ago. They told me they aren't sure yet when Christopher White will be returning to Kentucky. They say it could happen soon. They've been searching for him since the morning of August 24th. That's the day his wife's body was found inside their home. Judy White didn't show up to work that morning, which prompted police to check on her. They say she had been shot multiple times. Gibson County, Indiana Sheriff Tim Bottoms told us White called them this morning saying he believed he was wanted in Kentucky. They picked him up at 7:22 a.m. without incident at a truck stop parking lot. Yesterday, White's sister, Angela, talked to WKYT and begged him to surrender. She said he'd been battling a drug addiction for years. The sheriff in Indiana tells us that White has already waived his extradition out of the state, so he could be returning to Kentucky to face that murder charge very soon. Live in Bath County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Now, because Bath County doesn't have a jail, White will be housed in the Montgomery County Jail once he's brought back into the state.
The search is continuing at this noon hour for two men involved in a pair of overnight robberies. The first was on Woodland Avenue, where two UK students were held up while they were walking home. And about an hour later, police say there was another robbery at the Waffle House on North Broadway out by the interstate. That one involved an axe. Two have already been arrested in the case. They are DeMarco Cothran and David Ross. Our Caitlin Sentner reports police believe the robberies are connected.
Employees inside Waffle House were shaken up early this morning when they say men robbed their store. They say three men came inside, two with guns and another one with an axe in his hand. They say he had hit the countertop, and if you actually go inside that store, you can see those marks on their countertop. Lexington Police Department says this wasn't the only robbery overnight. They were all over the city tracking suspects down. This is how they say it all went down. They say two students were walking home from Euclid Kroger on Woodland. Men jumped out of an SUV and demanded everything the students had on them, including phone keys and groceries. About an hour later, police say there was another robbery, this time at the Waffle House on North Broadway, right by the interstate. They say guys stole some cash and one of the workers had a panic attack. Now, while police were checking that out, they say another officer was patrolling, passing Speedway on Versailles Road, and found a car matching the description of the robberies. Police were able to arrest one person, but the other three ran. Police say left in the car were items stolen from the Woodland robbery and an axe and a gun. Police have made two arrests now and say they're still looking for two others. Luckily, no one was hurt in the robberies. We did talk to the employees inside Waffle House, and they say the person that had a panic attack was a veteran, but he's holding up okay now. In Lexington, Caitlin Sentner, WKYT.
Caitlin, thank you. Police are also looking for a man by the name of Desmond Keys, and they have an arrest warrant out for him right now.
Well, morning showers have mostly pushed out of the bluegrass this midday, leaving behind a mostly pleasant afternoon with sunny skies and mild temperatures. And this fall-like feel is expected to last through the holiday weekend. WKYT meteorologist Micah it would be Jim Caldwell over there. He is live in our first floor Weather Center. There he is.
Give him some respect.
Tell you what, he wishes he had a head like this, doesn't he? Tracking a few showers out there right now. It's all right. I'm not even mad. A little bit, just a little bit. A few isolated showers have been showing up across parts of Kentucky through the day, and we still have a little activity here as well right now. Very spotty in nature. This is that front trying to completely push into the area and get out of here. It feels very pleasant out there, a little breezy and rather cool compared to where we have been. High resolution model overdoing a little bit on some of those showers, but what it's mainly about is the timing for southern and eastern Kentucky, because it will clear those up, I think, as we head through the evening. And spotty like it is right now, intensified just a little bit. So overall, very quiet once we get into the evening and later on tonight. And that, guys, will open up the door for that new comfortable air mass. It is going to run the show for a few days. I will track that air mass coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. And again, I apologize. I know who you are. There you go. Well, forecasters have issued a hurricane warning for portions of northwestern Florida. The National Hurricane Center has said that tropical storm Hermine continues to strengthen over the Gulf of Mexico as it approaches the Sunshine State. Hermine is roughly about 315 miles southwest of Tampa with winds of 60 miles per hour. It's expected to continue to strengthen throughout the day and hit the coast by late tonight or early tomorrow.
Get our weather people in our storm straight here today, right? Other news now this afternoon. It is a case of illegal dumping into a landfill in central Kentucky. Earlier this year, the EPA found 4 violations regarding the disposal of radioactive waste at the Blue Ridge landfill. It's over in Estill County. WKYT's Hillary Thornton is there now with the latest from today's hearing.
Attorneys for the operator of that Estill County landfill arguing inside of the courtroom here this morning that the lawsuit should be dismissed. Ultimately, the judge saying that motion is premature at this point, overruling their requests. The attorneys today asking that the lawsuit against a few different entities and Corey Hoskins, the one individual named, be dropped. While attorneys accepted the allegations, they say the complaint fails to state a viable cause and evidence. They also say their 3 defendants are not third-party beneficiaries to the contract with the county, so they in turn could not have breached that agreement. Attorneys for Estill County Fiscal Court with Judge Executive Wallace Taylor standing by, arguing that the entities arranged or shipped illegal waste into the county, which they are not denying, and simply want the lawsuit dismissed to avoid more information from coming out.
And I think that's really the push here. No one wants to conduct discovery because we're going to pull back a Band-Aid on a fairly ugly situation. So I can understand why they filed the motion to dismiss on the pleadings.
The judge overruling their motion, saying it is premature and that the initial complaint filed is not required to lay out specific evidence. Decision that the lawsuit is moving forward met with an applause from those in the courtroom. Judge Executive Taylor says following the Labor Day holiday, they will begin that discovery phase, collecting evidence for the case. In Estill County, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Hillary, thank you. Now, no criminal charges have been filed against the companies involved. There is a new drug showing up in the University of Kentucky's emergency room, and it is 10,000 times stronger than morphine. Carfentanil is known on the street as elephant heroin, and concern has been growing that it has reached central Kentucky. An emergency room doctor at UK says overdoses in general are up, and many of them, he believes, are carfentanil. Since the drug is so potent, it can be harder for Narcan to be effective.
It will work, but it sometimes requires more. And again, Narcan isn't perfect. Sometimes the patients still require intubation and ventilatory support.
Tonight on WKYT News at 6, officials warn about this dangerous drug, and they fear the worst is yet to come. So we're really looking into all this and emphasizing it in our newscast right now. Right. The latest round of class action concussion lawsuits against the NCAA and major college football conferences have been filed at this point, and it includes 3 Kentucky universities.
And those are UK, Louisville, and Murray State. WKYT's Dave Baker joins us live now with the very latest. Dave?
Guys, whether it's protecting their images used in video games or lobbying for what they believe are better working conditions, college athletics, the athletes have gone to court to address their grievances. And now former Wildcat Demario Ford is part of just such an effort. Ford, who was at Kentucky from 2004 to 2009, joined the latest round of suits yesterday seeking damages from the SEC and the NCAA because he says he was forced to return to play after being diagnosed with concussions. Ford played in 37 games for the Cats, including 5 starting assignments, 23 career receptions, 292 yards, and that in the Music City Bowl, one of 3 touchdowns. Coach Rich Brooks announced in November 2008 that doctors had advised Ford to give up football because of the concussions. Now, the lawsuits were filed in federal court Wednesday by Chicago-based attorney Jay Edelson. The 7 lawsuits increased the total number filed to 22 since May of this year.
Dave, thank you. And the other schools named in that lawsuit again, Florida State, Miami, Florida, and Mississippi State.
We're glad you're along on WKYT News at noon. Following a quick trip to Mexico to meet with that country's president, Donald Trump makes a major speech on immigration reform. We'll tell you about his plan and where he is today. Coming up on Kentucky's #1 Midday News.
And also ahead, the nominations have been announced for this year's CMA Awards, and a familiar face is at the top. Find out how many nominations Kentucky native Chris Stapleton received next on WKYT. Welcome back to WKYT News at noon. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is campaigning in Cincinnati today, speaking to veterans. Now, this comes after he met with the president of Mexico and delivered an address on immigration reform in Arizona.
Trump unveiled his 10-point plan, which includes getting Mexico to pay for a wall along the southern border and the creation of a deportation force to deal with undocumented immigrants who commit crimes. His challenger, the Democrat Hillary Clinton, has criticized the meeting as a simple photo op, saying, quote, "You can't make up for a year of insults and insinuation by dropping in on our neighbors for a few hours and then flying home again." Swimmer Ryan Lochte says he is not sure if he will return to Brazil to face a charge of filing a false report during the Olympics. During a recent interview, Lochte said his legal team is dealing with the situation and he is just trying to move on. Lochte admits he over-exaggerated when he said he and 3 other swimmers were involved in an armed robbery in Rio. Security video shows they got into an altercation with security guards after vandalizing a gas station restroom. But at least Lochte is cashing in on his run-in with the law. He's now the new face of RoboCop, a company that makes handheld alarms that, quote, can get you out of a bad situation. So he has some experience with that now.
There you go.
Federal prosecutors are asking for 9 months in prison for the man behind the Celebgate hacking.
Edward Majorczyk pleaded guilty to 1 count of hacking into the email and electronic accounts of 30 celebrities. Authorities say he stole private information, including nude videos and photos, from stars like Louisville native Jennifer Lawrence and model Kate Upton. Majorczyk isn't accused of selling the material or posting any of it online himself. He's just one of several people who've been charged in the case. The nominations are out for the 50th Annual Country Music Awards. Eric Church, newcomer Maren Morris, and Kentucky native Chris Stapleton lead the pack of nominees with 5 each. Stapleton, Garth Brooks, Luke Bryan, Carrie Underwood, and Keith Urban will vie for the night's top honor, Entertainer of the Year. Stapleton is also up for Single of the Year, Musical Event, Music Video, and Male Vocalist. Other top nominees include Miranda Lambert and Dierks Bentley. The 50th Annual CMA Awards will air live from Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, November 2nd.
Could be a big night for Stapleton. We'll see, all right? Coming next, a Western Kentucky student from Lexington is speaking out after finding a racial slur keyed into the side of her car.
Find out who she thinks is responsible. Coming up in a report on WKYT News at 12:30.
And the brand new fall feeling air mass is on its way. It's sinking in. We're tracking it next for you.
Now, your zone by zone forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
It is starting to get a little pleasant out there. It's not pretty. It's not at all, but it is pleasant with the temperatures that we have showing up at this noon hour and the fact that the drier air is also coming. We're at 77 in Lexington, but it is a very comfortable 77. Got some mid and upper 70s to low 80s showing up across southern and eastern parts of Kentucky right now as well, but overall, it's getting better. A few scattered showers are also working through that area. Compare this to yesterday, and we're 11 degrees cooler in Lexington, so we were very warm and steamy again with high levels of humidity out there, and we're trying to sweep most of that out of town as well, and we will eventually. But overall, everybody much cooler compared to the same time yesterday, and that's a trend that will continue. Here's what we've got on the Defender Radar Network. A few scattered showers, and I do mean showers, very small, are showing up south of Lexington, some across parts of Madison County. You get into Estill County, right around Urban, and then a little more toward the east. Hit and miss variety showing up in those locations. Front driving through and allowing for a new brand of air to invade, and that is the one that's going to run the show for us over the next few days. Later today, probably in the upper 70s, low 80s. So we're not going to charge any higher on the thermometer than we are right now. Let's progress through the overnight and into the early morning hours. Watch those 50s kind of ooze in there. Upper 50s, mid 50s, all over the place here in central and in eastern Kentucky. Some of those sheltered valleys in the mountains, man, they are going to be fantastic in the morning. Very crisp. Then you see 5 o'clock on Friday, we're around 77, 78 degrees. That is a nice little run into the afternoon and evening hours. We're tracking the tropical winds as Hermine continues to move toward Florida here. Now, as the system comes ashore and then starts to move up the east coast, we likely don't see a major impact from the wind. However, but by showing you the wind, you can kind of see the reach of this system as far as where the concentration of winds are. We could see some clouds start to inch over across parts of southeastern Kentucky and maybe even a stray shower or two. Trends yesterday pushed a little further west, which had a better shot of rain. Now it's kind of gone back a little more toward the east, but overall we could still see a small impact from the system. But what's been our saving grace, and here's the actual track, has been the frontal boundary that's going to make our atmosphere a much better one. It kind of holds it off and fends the actual system itself off and doesn't allow it to make a direct run at us. But again, we could still see a glancing blow with some clouds or maybe even a shower or two, especially for some of our eastern counties. But you know what? The overall forecast is so nice, we don't even have to worry about it. I mean, 77 degrees tomorrow, early morning temperatures in the 50s. Just true fall feel around here, guys.
Sounds good. You know,
it'll be fantastic.
Especially coming out of a voice like yours. We were just
so
talking
soothing,
smooth voice. You know,
what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, we're coming back on. Let's payback for the insult from earlier. We're back in a moment of well-deserved honor for a broadcast great.
And the football Cats will take on a familiar face. Dave Baker's next with sports.
And checking stocks as we head into afternoon trading. The major market indicators all down at midday.
You just never really know what to expect at a season opener, but that's especially the case as the Wildcats take on Southern Miss. This is not your typical lid lifter because with former UK offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson on the opposite sideline, Dawson's departure brought a great deal of pressure and fuel, a lot of juice to the talk surrounding Saturday's matchup. But you know what? There's really not an advantage. UK knows Dawson and Dawson knows UK.
Well, I mean, I think they're much like everybody else. I mean, they're not going to sit here and change their whole defensive scheme because of our first game, and I have a little bit of knowledge about them and they have a little bit of knowledge about me. I mean, it goes both ways. Ultimately, both teams have to go out there. I promise you, I think on both sides there's enough question marks, and so ultimately, like Coach Hop says, the team that executes the best is going to win, and so hopefully our question marks play better than theirs.
And that is a typical Shannon Dawson soundbite. The Wildcats against Southern Miss Saturday night, 7:30 kickoff. Commonwealth Stadium. It'll be televised by ESPNU.
You are looking live in the cavern of Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. You are looking live at the University of Phoenix Stadium.
For the greatest words ever heard before a game, longtime announcer Brent Musburger has been selected to receive the Vin Scully Lifetime Achievement Award in sports broadcasting. Musburger's 40-plus year career has taken him to CBS, where he obviously did the Final Four, a lot of games in Rupp Arena, worked with Phyllis George on the NFL Today, ABC, ESPN, ESPN Radio, and the SEC Network. And then even when he was kind of in between gigs, guess what? Did the Little League World Series as well. So Musburger being honored, doing most of his work now on the SEC Network, being honored with that Vin Scully Lifetime Achievement Award. Tonight, on the Big Blue Insider, Mark Berger sitting in for Dick Gabriel with the latest from the football Wildcats. Last time we'll hear from the Cats before they kick it off against the Golden Eagles on Saturday. That's tonight at 6 on 630 WLAP. Guys, that's a look at your sports on this Thursday.
All right, Buzz, thank you so much.
And there's much more to come in the next half hour of WKYT News at noon.
We now know the name of a man who was killed in a deadly car crash in Lexington.
I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Coming up at 12:30, one person calls it a jewel in our own backyard. A research center is announcing some exciting news in its search to find the cure for Alzheimer's. I'll have that story coming up.
Tomorrow's Mega Millions jackpot is $92 million, and Saturday's Powerball jackpot has climbed to $170 million.